President Abbas, unfortunately, has been fanning the flames. He welcomes, quote, every drop of blood spilled in Jerusalem. That's a quote. President Abbas has not condemned a single one of the 30 terrorist attacks on Israelis over the last month. And he continues to glorify terrorists as heroes.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a joint press conference with the UN Secretary General slamming Palestinian Authority leader Mahmoud Abbas for fanning the flames of violence against Israel. Now, Netanyahu in Germany, where he will meet with Secretary of State John Kerry to talk about ways to calm the surge of violence in the West Bank. For more on the story, we're now joined by the Associate Dean of the Simon Weisenthal Center and cyberspace extremism expert, Rabbi Abraham Cooper. Also joining us from Israel, the president of the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, David Rubin, and author of the book Sparks from Zion. Now, Rabbi Cooper, Prime Minister Netanyahu said he hoped his meeting with Secretary Kerry would focus on ways to calm the situation. Do you think American involvement can help? And if so, why?
I think the main thing the U.S. could do is signal the Arab world, especially Mr. Abbas and the PA, that there'll be consequences for continuing a violent campaign based on a lie, the lie being that somehow Israel is plotting to take away religious rights of Muslims.
You know, David, we're just watching some of the violence right now on our TV screens, and I think as Americans, we see the violence. We really can't relate to it. What is the atmosphere right now on the ground in Israel? You've had personal experiences with this extremist violence. Tell us what the scene is right now in Israel.
Well, yes, someone who has suffered from it understands it a little bit more. That's true. And it's true, I was wounded in a terrorist attack with my 3-year-old son some years ago when terrorists ambushed our car. Terrorism is called terrorism because the idea is to terrorize people. It's to intimidate people, to frighten them, so they'll be afraid and so they'll run away. Israel, unfortunately for the terrorists, is a very resilient country. We're very resilient people who have suffered about 20 years of terrorism, which has been spearheaded, I must point out, by Mahmoud Abbas. It's not just Mahmoud Abbas inciting terrorism. It's not just the statements that he makes encouraging terrorism. The Palestinian Authority has been the main financier of terrorism over the past 20 years.
If I could jump in, Mr. Rubin, I did want to ask Rabbi Cooper specifically about the possibility of resuming discussions and peace talks, because Abbas says he does want to resume that from the standpoint of getting the Israeli withdrawal from the West Bank and East Jerusalem. There is this huge divide. Can this be solved peacefully, though?
It can be resolved peacefully if the Israelis ever had a legitimate partner. Remember that Abbas, who sits in Ramallah, can't even set foot in Gaza, which is controlled by Hamas, which is much more explicitly committed in its genocidal document to destroying the state of Israel. So until Israel gets a legitimate partner that represents the people, the neighbors that want to live in peace, it's going to be a very, very rough ride. And the United States, frankly, needs to do more to signal not just Abbas, but the Arab and Muslim world, that in fact the U.S. stands by Israel. And when the Palestinian leadership sees the political and financial support begin to erode or dry up, that is really the beginning of the first day of hope.
And David, in 30 seconds, can the United States help in any way to try to resolve the crisis right now?
Rick, I've been hearing this partner for peace cliche for years, and frankly, the problem is not that we don't have a partner that wants to make peace. The problem is not the lack of unity between Hamas and Fatah in the Palestinian Authority. The problem is that the Arabs and the Muslims specifically have never been willing to accept Israeli sovereignty over the land of Israel.
Definitely a situation we will continue to monitor. For now, Rabbi Abraham Cooper, David Rubin, thanks for your time. We want to know what you think. Send me your comments at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Newsmax Prime continues right after this.